I feel like I was here yesterday. Another sprint, done and done. Let's do the review. Hi everyone, Michael from Pixeesoft here. This will be an exhaustive review of our last sprint, the third one in the series. We have, as usual, a lot to cover, so let's get going. On this channel, we talk about software development, agile, and everything in between. So if you're new here, welcome. Make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss the next video in the series. Also, hit that bell so that you get notified as soon as it comes out. Since now we've been doing live streams, especially for that bell will be really crucial so that you can be online when we're online. And should you have any questions, you can ask them right in the chat. So let's set the stage for the sprint by reminding ourselves what the goal was. Well, mainly the deployment of the Python microservices. So, how did we do? Let's see what the Scrum board looked at the end of our last sprint planning. All of the issues nicely piled in the sprint lane, ready to be finished. The total amount of work was 7.2 man-days. So a slightly optimistic forecast for 7 days of work. And this is the board after the sprint. Some tasks were left behind, but there were no tasks in the freeze box. That means mainly that we didn't need to pivot for any of the tasks or any of the issues at hand. But it also means that all of the tasks that we defined were valid, and that's a really good thing. However, as usual, and that being the reason for not completing all of the tasks, there were some unexpected tasks. Tasks that maybe we didn't forecast properly. First of all, we needed to reduce the size of the GAE clusters for the API services, mainly because the bill for them was quite high and the percentage of usage of the CPUs, on the other hand, was really low. So that means we were paying for infrastructure we didn't really need, we didn't use at all. So that had to be addressed so that we didn't just waste budget on something we didn't need. Both of the clusters are pretty much the same, so at least I gained some time by learning how to do it on one cluster and then just repeating the same thing for the second cluster. Mainly, I had to find the right size. Where is the right trade-off? Oh, this is not too strong of a server, but strong enough to run the API service. And so I did that for the auth service first, and then pretty much just copied the same process for the resource server as well. Second unexpected task was creating a cluster using the NGINX Ingress Controller. So for the API services, I was using mainly the Google L7 load balancer that's provided with each GKE cluster by default. Unfortunately, it wasn't the right load balancer for the WebSocket services written in Python, mainly because the need of the health checks for the L7 load balancer. Now NGINX, out of the box, supports WebSockets and doesn't need health checks for them. And I didn't want to rewrite the code, I just wanted to deploy it as is to see if it runs in the cloud. And so NGINX Controller was the way to go. But that came with some new challenges. For example, managed certificates don't run on the NGINX Controller. Because for the NGINX Controller, you cannot use the global IP. You have to use a regional one. And for that reason, managed certificates, which are issued against a global IP, cannot be provided. But that's not a problem. You can simply deploy the cert manager from Jetstack and you have the same functionality like the managed certificates. you only need to run few helm tiller commands, and you need to set it up and deploy some other objects in the Kubernetes cluster. But then again, it's a new thing. It's a thing you have to deploy manually, and you have to spend your time on it. So again, unexpected task. Third, as I was using the iOS client to debug the WebSocket interface, I thought, hey, since I'm actually using this, might as well create the Git repository, which is a task that was planned ahead, just not for this sprint. But as I was already working with it, why not just finish this task? It was unexpected for this sprint. It was expected for some later sprint, but hey, it got done. But then again, it took out some time that I reserved for other tasks. So yeah, again, unexpected task. Last but not least, we had to deploy Memcache Service. I actually thought it would take way longer, but it didn't. It was a tiny task, but unexpected nonetheless. And what about the technical debt? Anything new? Well, yeah. I didn't have time to address any of the issues that arose in the previous 2 sprints. And on the other hand, I did accumulate some new issues that have to go on that list of technical debt tasks. I guess that's part of developers' life. You deliver a new feature so that you can come back to it later and rewrite it completely. So the Memcache service I talked about that needed deploying is actually deployed completely manually, just through the GCP interface. And that needs to be addressed later on. It should be a Terraform recipe that can be spun up automatically on demand. And the same thing holds for the GAE clusters for the data feeder and the data eater. They have some deployment specifics, such as the NGINX Ingress Controller. These things should really be defined in a Terraform recipe so that we can spin them up on demand in a different place, in a different region, or a different cloud altogether. And maybe one last thing, maybe not new, but definitely newly discovered, that is that constants are hardwired in the Python components as well. They're basically defined in any files, and it should be noted in the documentation so that it's not surprising next time someone comes across it. So with regards to the goal of this sprint, did we achieve it? Were we successful? I'd say yes. And I'll be honest, the moment the data feeder and the data eater actually started communicating and you could see live data on the website and in the iOS app, I just threw my hands in the air and shouted like I scored a goal. I don't know. But it just made me so happy because at that moment, I came to the realization it is possible. It's a proof that it's possible because the main infrastructure now is deployed and everything else is a technicality. But the battle is far from over. There are issues that need addressing. There is the persistence layer that has to be deployed, the ML pipelines that have to be run, but that's for later. Now we're celebrating. It's the end of the sprint and we achieved the goal we set up to do. But now let's start a new section of the review. Calm. Something to keep, something to add, something to do less of, and something to do more of. So something to keep. Well, definitely the live streams. I think it's the best compromise between delivering value to you, the viewers, and me spending time on producing these videos. I get to interact with you, but I still have time to do the actual work. And now something to add. Well, that goes hand in hand with the live streams. I would like to add a schedule to them because frankly, I haven't been really strict with myself. Sometimes the streams began at 9:30. Most of the days it was around 11. And one day it was at 3 p.m. I think that there should be some more structure, so I'm gonna add that. And I think I'll put it to like 10:15, put it on my calendar, and stick to it for the entire length of the next sprint. Less. Well, I think I want to do less of Instagram, IGTV to be precise. Frankly, after each stream I would download the video, quickly create a vertical one, and post it on Instagram. It didn't take that long. I had a preset template in DaVinci Resolve, but I really didn't get any attention. So I think maybe the platform isn't ready for this content, so I'm gonna do less of that going on. Maybe drop it entirely for the next sprint. And more, I want to talk more to people. I found out during this sprint, especially while debugging, that it's just a good practice to talk to people, those that want to listen to you actually, and maybe not exactly complain and ask them for a solution, but tell them, what are you working on? What are you trying to achieve? And you know what? Rubber ducking is a thing, and it works like charm. 99% of the time, when I told someone, I actually thought about it from a different angle, trying to explain it to someone else, and I figured out a solution. So I want to do more of that, talking to friends or like-minded people so that we can all come to the solutions to our problems. And so there it is, another sprint review. We went through the tasks, the technical debt, and we addressed the things that we want to change in the next sprint. But let's hear from you now. When was the last time you asked your engineers what they want to do less of and what they want to do more of? Maybe you're not doing it enough? Let me know in the comment section below. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button. Share this video with your friends if you think it'll bring them value, and subscribe if you haven't already. But right now, I have some sprint planning to do, and that's exactly the next video that I'll see you in. So, catch you later.